We've seen it 100 times at this point, the hero with something dark inside of them, a monster, a curse, an inner demon. At first, it's a threat, something to suppress, then a challenge, something to control, and eventually it becomes an ally. That's the blueprint, that's the arc. Naruto had Kurama, Ichigo had his hollow, Asta had Liebe. They all started off burdened with what seemed to be a curse, but through struggle, empathy, and time, that monster inside of them became their strength. But Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't follow that story, because in Jujutsu Kaisen the monster never softens. Sukuna isn't a partner, he's a parasite. His intention is never teaching Yuji a lesson. He doesn't care about his growth or healing. He's just evil, fully, proudly, and irredeemably. And in a world like Jujutsu Kaisen's, a world that's colder, harsher, and far less forgiving, that's what makes this dynamic feel so brutally honest. So this video isn't just about the inner demon trope, it's also about how Jujutsu Kaisen breaks it, and how that choice makes Yuji's journey one of the most tragic and powerful we've seen in modern shonen. In classic shonen, the inner demon isn't just a threat, it's a narrative promise, a symbol of inner turmoil destined to be understood. It's dark but not hopeless, scary but not unsolvable. Naruto starts his journey as the village outcast, feared, hated, and called a monster. But that monster, Kurama, isn't pure evil, he's angry and wounded. And as Naruto grows, he learns to understand that pain, to empathize, and to eventually fight alongside him. The Ninetales becomes a friend, a shield, a source of strength earned through compassion. Ichigo's hollow is a bit different, but the result is the same. Hollow Ichigo is chaotic, violent, and mocking, but he's also a reflection of Ichigo's fear and identity. He isn't an enemy to be erased, he's a part of Ichigo to be acknowledged, and by confronting him, Ichigo becomes more whole. Even in newer series like Black Clover, we see it again. Asta's devil Liebe begins as a hostile force, but eventually evolves into a partner once Asta learns the truth behind his rage. It's a common pattern where the demon isn't usually the final villain, but it's the internal test. A test that ends more often than not with a handshake and a resolution. Because for years, the inner demon trope has carried the same hopeful message that you can tame the darkness inside of you. But Jujutsu Kaisen, it doesn't tell that story. Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't tame the demon, it doesn't offer peace or partnership or even understanding. Because Sukuna isn't a metaphor for pain, he's pain itself, unfiltered, unapologetic, and alive. From the very first episode, we know something is off. Yuji eats the finger and the trope begins, and then Sukuna takes over. He doesn't lash out in fear, he doesn't challenge Yuji to grow, he just smiles like he's been waiting. And that smile never fades. Where Kurama challenged Naruto out of anger and Hollow Ichigo tested Ichigo to awaken something buried inside of him, Sukuna does none of that. He isn't interested in Yuji like that. He doesn't respect him. He treats Yuji like an insect, a tool, a temporary inconvenience. And the more time passes, the worse it gets. In season 1, he mocks Yuji's weakness, plays games with his life, offers help only when it benefits him. There's no bond, no challenge, just control. And by the time we reach Shibuya, it all implodes. Yuji loses control of his body and Sukuna goes on a massacre. He kills indiscriminately, innocent civilians and everyone in his path. And Yuji watches every second of it, powerless. But Sukuna doesn't just kill. In the end, he gives Yuji his body back, on purpose. So he can see the aftermath, the destruction, the bodies, the lives lost because of him. It was pure cruelty, a way to make Yuji feel it, to hate himself for it. And Yuji does. He falls to his knees, trembling, whispering to himself to just die already. No words, no redemption, just guilt, crushing and silent guilt. Sukuna didn't test him, he destroyed him, and unlike Kurama or Hollow Ichigo, he doesn't care who Yuji becomes. Because Sukuna isn't a reflection of Yuji's inner struggle. Instead, he's the proof that that struggle doesn't always matter. And that's the horror of it all. Most shonen demons teach you something in the end of the day. They might be brutal, but in the end they're fair in a kind of way. They push you to grow, but Sukuna doesn't push, he takes. He's not a part of Yuji's identity, he's a parasite on it. Not a challenge to overcome, but a reminder that sometimes you don't get to win. That sometimes no matter how kind you are or how hard you fight, that thing inside of you is just evil. And you still have to carry it. That's what makes Yuji's arc feel so devastating. Because we as viewers have been conditioned to expect the reconciliation. That turning point moment, that maybe Sukuna will help when it really matters moment. But Jujutsu Kaisen, it never gives it to us. Because it's not that kind of world. And Sukuna is not that kind of monster. The only lessons he teaches Yuji are the ones of despair. In classic shonen, the demon inside of you is terrifying, but it's never the real threat. The real threat is misunderstanding it, failing to control it. The story wants you to find that balance. Because those stories were written with the assumption that the world deep down wants to help you heal. That if you keep pushing, if you keep believing, the darkness will give way to something brighter. But Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't offer that light. It's a world that doesn't care if you break. And Sukuna, he doesn't care if you survive. This isn't just a subversion of of a trope. It's a statement about what power means in a darker, colder world. Where Naruto taught us that pain can be understood, JJK tells us that some pain doesn't want to be understood. Ichigo grew stronger by confronting what's inside of him, while Yuji is crushed by it. And in doing so, JJK reshapes what the inner demon trope even means. It's not even about taming the monster anymore, it's about enduring it. Because in this story, you don't get to earn the demon's respect. You don't outgrow it, you live with it. You carry it into every fight, every loss, and every moment of guilt. And you still try to do the right thing. Not because the story promises a reward, but because the world won't offer you one. And that makes Yuji's journey feel less like a heroic transformation and more like a quiet, brutal survival. In most shonen, the inner demon is a path to power. A challenge that once conquered becomes your strength. That's the story we grew up on. That's the story we learned to expect. But Sukuna is the story that never turns. He doesn't soften, he doesn't teach, he doesn't change. He's not a symbol of Yuji's growth, he's the limit of it. Because Jujutsu Kaisen isn't a story about mastering the darkness. It's about being haunted by it and choosing to fight anyway. That's why Sukuna is so terrifying, not just because he's strong, but because he won't let Yuji grow the way heroes are supposed to grow. And that makes Yuji's strength, his real strength, so much more painful. Because he never gets the comfort of turning his curse into a blessing. He just learns to move forward with the curse still burning inside of him. In a genre full of demons that become allies, Sukuna is the one that stays evil, the one that ruins everything, the one that breaks the pattern and reminds us that sometimes the monster doesn't want to be saved, and sometimes you don't get to win, you just keep going. And that's it for this week's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more if you did. I just want to thank everyone for all the support in my recent videos, it really means a lot to me. So once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.